Greeting from Business Consulting. So today we are going to see how to write a test case. Prior moving further to write a test case, we are just going to see roughly what does software testing mean. Software testing is a process used to identify the correctness, completeness, and quality of developed computer software. Software testing is an activity to check whether the actual result match the expected result and to ensure that the software system is defect free. So we can say that testing is a process carried out to find the defect. In a business scenario, developer is used to develop the software as per customer requirement, and software tester is used to test the software, where he used to check whether software has been developed as per customer requirement or not. While testing, the software tester used to find out the bug from the software and then ask the developer to remove all those bugs. In today's session, we are just going to see writing test cases. Regarding the software testing tutorials, we'll shortly upload all the videos related to the basic idea regarding software testing. So test case is a document which has a set of test data, preconditions, expected results, and post condition. We can say that test cases are sets of steps and expected conditions where software tester used to test the software as per the step mentioned in the test cases. Based on the business requirement or the customer requirement, software tester need to write the test cases. So we can say that test case act as the starting point for the test execution, and after applying a set of input values, the application has a definitive outcome and leaves the system at some endpoint, or also known as execution post condition. So today we are going to see how to write test case manually for testing login functionality of Gmail. So here consider the test scenario to check the login functionality. There are many possible variation to check the scenarios. If you can see, the first thing we can see, one of the scenarios is check response on entering valid agent name and password. So agent name, here you can say that valid email ID and password. Another scenario where you need to check the response on entering the invalid agent name and password. Third scenario could be check response when any of the field is blank and login button is pressed. There could be different scenarios, but as per the business requirement, it's the responsibility of the software tester to identify all those possible scenarios and just write few scenarios, because if you are going to see that there are like 100 possibility could be there to check this login functionality, we cannot mention all those 100 scenarios. So Tester need to identify the scenarios according to the business requirement. So today we are going to see, we are going to write test case where we are going to test the login functionality of Gmail. We can write the test cases in Excel, in Word, or in any other document format. There are certain test case parameters which we need to enter into the document. The first is test case ID, second is test scenario, third is test case description, fourth is test steps, fifth is prerequisites, sixth is test data, seventh is expected result, eighth is test parameter, ninth is actual results, 10th is environment information, and 11th is comments. So in all the companies we are not going to follow this many test cases parameter. We need to see that how company follow their parameter. So according to the company, this test case parameter can be changes. So we are going to see the login functionality of Gmail. So this is the login page of Gmail. We are going to write test cases for this login page. So the first thing which we have discussed, which we need to write, is test case ID. The second thing which we are going to write is test scenario. The third thing is test case description. So we can write test case. The fourth thing, if you need to include any precondition, you can include the preconditions. Fifth is test steps. Sixth is test data. Seventh is expected result. Eighth is actual result. And the last one which we are going to include is status. So test case ID, this is the unique ID, and we need to enter this test case unique ID so that we can identify the test case easily. So here we are going to check the login functionality of Gmail. So we'll write the test case ID as manual testing test case 01. So this is the unique test case ID. So we'll follow as per the scenario, we need to write the unique IDs, or we can write here test case 01. For another scenario, test case 02, test case 03. So like this, we need to define the unique test case ID. Test scenario. So what is the scenario? So here we are going to write the scenario which we are going to test. So our scenario is check Gmail login functionality. Now the third thing is test case or test case description. Here we need to write that, okay, the initial thing is we are going to check the Gmail login functionality. What is the description? So here we are going to write the check response on entering valid email ID and password. So we are going to see the response while we are entering a valid email ID and password. Okay, so we'll again go through it. Initially we have written a unique test case ID. We have written the test scenario, that is we are going to check the Gmail login functionality, and test case we have written check response on entering valid email ID and password. That means when we are entering a valid email ID and valid password, now we are going to write the precondition. So few companies according to the scenario include this parameter, few of them does not include. So our precondition could be that where we are going to do all this testing. So we need a browser installed. So we can write the precondition as any internet browser must be installed. So this is our precondition, that prior to perform this testing we need to check that internet browser must be installed, where we are going to open our Gmail link. So now we are going to write the test steps. So here tester need to write all the test steps which he is going to perform. So the first test step, it could be enter valid email ID. As you can see here, what is our first test step, what it's asking here. So it's asking enter your email. So our first test step is enter a valid email ID. Now what will be the our second step? So second step will be press next button. So this is the next button which he is going to press. After pressing the next button, what it's asking, enter password. So what will be our third step? Enter a valid password. And then what will be the next step after entering a valid password? We need to press the sign in button. So we need to write the fourth step as, after entering a valid password, press the sign in button. So if we sign in, we'll see that okay, everything is working fine. Now what does test data mean? So test data, it means that what all requirement data we need to fetch to test this software. So we need an email ID and password. So test data, first thing we required email ID, and second thing password to check this application. So here the test data, we are going to see the login functionality of Gmail or business consulting. So we have written email ID businessconsulting007@gmail.com. Now we need password. So here you can provide the password by which we can successfully log in into the Gmail. So right now I will just put a star here as I cannot give my password. Now the expected result. What result we are expecting after entering a valid email ID and password and pressing the sign in button? So the expected outcome is that login must be successful. So we are going to write here that expected result is login must be successful. And actual result is the result when we are going to perform all this activity. What will be the result? We will write here that after doing this activity, what was the result? And status, it means the test case, the test scenario is pass, fail. So according to the result, the status will vary. So right now we have written a test case to check or to test the login functionality of Gmail. So now we are going to check this thing in Gmail. So our first step is enter a valid email ID. So we are entering our valid email ID, that is businessconsulting007@gmail.com. Next step is press next button. We have press next button. Okay, it's asking for password. Enter a valid password. So we'll be entering a valid password. And fourth step is press sign in button. Okay, so what should be the expected result? That Gmail login must be successful. And what is our actual result? Yes, we have successfully logged into the Gmail account. So we can write here the actual result is successfully login successful. We can write anything. And what will be the status? It will be the pass. So result is pass. So when we are writing test scenarios or test case, there are two type of test cases. One is positive test case and another is negative test case. Positive test case, it means that we are writing or whatever we are expecting in a positive sense, we are writing all those test scenarios. Negative test case, it means we are entering some wrong email ID, some wrong data, some wrong password to check that okay, if we are entering any invalid email ID or invalid password, this login functionality should not work. So we need to write a positive test case as well as negative test case. So this will come under positive test case. So I have already prepared one test case scenario. So here same thing which we have written, this is a positive test case. Now we need to write negative test cases. So I have already written. The test case ID will be TC02, as initially it was TC01. So again test scenario will be same. We are going to check the Gmail login functionality. Test case will get change. Here we are writing check response on entering invalid email ID and password. Initially, what was our test case description? Check response on entering valid email ID and password. In negative test case, we are seeing a negative condition we are going to check. That check response on entering an invalid email ID and password. Again precondition will be same. Test step will be enter invalid email ID, press next button, enter valid password, press sign in button. So as this many steps they have provided, but in actual scenario this both steps are not required, because if we are writing enter invalid email ID and if we are going to press a next button, these two steps are not going to be come into the scenario, because the screen will not move further. So we can avoid this two step. Test data, we have written one wrong email ID and provided the password. What is the expected result? error message should come that sorry, Google doesn't recognize that email. So now we are going to write a wrong email ID. Initially our email ID was businessconsulting007@gmail.com. Now we are going to write businessconsultingaa007@gmail.com. So we are going to just sign out this account. So we are there on the login page of Gmail. We are going to enter a wrong email ID. Now we are going to press next button. Now what's it showing? Sorry, Google doesn't recognize that email. It means this email ID does not exist. So on the second step itself, we have found that okay, this email ID is wrong. So further we are not going to check different steps. So we can write actual result, error message displayed or shown. And status could be pass, because we want that this error message should come. If by chance we are writing an email, wrong email ID, and we are going to press this next button, and if it's going to the next screen, it means our test cases fail. But right now it's showing the error message, it means our test cases pass. Same, one more negative test case I have written to check the response on entering valid email ID and wrong password. So if we are going to write a valid email ID, but if we are going to enter a wrong password, what should be the expected result? Again, one error message should come that wrong password, try again. So we are going to check same thing. We are going to enter a valid email ID, going to press next button. Yes, we have reached to the password screen. We are going to enter an invalid password, a wrong password. Going to press sign in button, and what is the error? What is the error message? Wrong password, try again. So again we need to check all this negative condition also. So here we can write again error message displayed, and our status of the result will be pass. Same accordingly, what you can do, you can write few more negative test case that don't enter any email ID, keep this field blank and press next button. So it should give please enter your email. So you can write different test scenario. So there could be different scenarios, but as a software tester you need to identify that what are the scenarios which you are going to test as per the customer or the business requirement. So I have consolidated this test scenario, TC01, TC02, TC03, all these three test cases I have consolidated and created one login test case where a software tester is going to execute his plans according to this test steps or according to this test case. Also one more thing, when you are going or when you are performing this testing, you should capture the screen. So I have captured here screen. You can, in the next step you can see login screenshots. So I have captured the screen. This is the screen, this is the next screen where we are entering, this is another screen. So we need to capture all the screen to verify that yes, we have performed this test case or we have performed this testing according to this test case steps. So as per the parameters, we have written our test case related to see the login functionality of Gmail. So this was related to the test case. If you like our video, please press like button, subscribe, comment, or if you have any doubt, please mail us at businessconsulting007@gmail.com. Thank you.